On this edition of Fed Gov Today with Francis Rose, reaching you wherever you are to understand your financial future better.
We are finding new ways. We have a YouTube channel that has educational videos. We have, of course, our call, the Thrift Line, is always available and had very high volume during tax season and as the market's been volatile.
Jim Kaplan of the Thrift Savings Plan on Fed Gov Today in just a moment. Modernization and lethality are the two most talked about concepts among the sea services right now. You'll meet leaders from the Coast Guard, the Marine Corps, and industry that are addressing both on Innovation in Government from Sea, Air, Space, sponsored by Carasoft. Innovation in Government's available on demand right now at fedgovtoday.com and the Fed Gov Today YouTube channel. The Thrift Savings Plan's mobile app's more popular now than ever. More than twice as many people used it in the first quarter of this year than in the first quarter of 2024. Jim Kaplan's Director of External Affairs at the Federal Retirement Thrift Investment Board. Jim, welcome. 30.49% of my account logins through the app. What do you think that means behind the numbers to the way people are interacting with their TSP accounts? Welcome.
Thank you. And thank you as always for having me, Francis. I think as a society, we're just getting more commonly used to using apps, whether it's on our phone or even on a computer these days. And so it's just an easy way to log in, check your account, do the standard transactions. And as more and more people adopt it, we're glad that they're using the TSP app. I put it on my phone in the last year. And you can do all sorts of very basic activities there and not have to worry about, is this a good time to call, or if I start and I have to interrupt and then I have to go back. So it's great for things like designating your beneficiary or checking your balance or realigning some of your accounts if you choose to do so. And so we're glad that more and more people are using the app. We just want to continue to give options for our participants and beneficiaries to be able to do what they need to do with their accounts.
Is there a goal number in mind, or is that 30.49% number just a metric that you're using to follow what the engagement level is with people?
That's it. I mean, any organization tells you have to meet your customers where they are. And so we are finding new ways. We have a YouTube channel that has educational videos. We have, of course, our call, the Thrift Line, is always available and had very high volume during tax season and as the market's been volatile. But in reality, it's just finding where people want to get their information and making sure that it's available to them there.
Do I recall correctly that the app is enabled by the switch to the Converge record-keeping system?
That was part of it. I think that was part of all of our upgrades as we found more ways to upgrade. And we've upgraded the app itself during that time. We moved to face recognition and two-factor authentication to make sure that it's secure. So every year we're making improvements and greater access. But yeah, I think moving to the modern record-keeping system has definitely made it more possible for us to engage through an application like that.
Is there anything on tap for the app, or does it now do pretty much what your participants expect it to do and would like it to do?
There's nothing immediately pending, but we always, as you know, are listening to our participants and what they want and what they need. And so I would imagine, for example, when in-plan Roth conversions roll out next year, that the app will be enabled to help folks with that process. There'll be a calculator that shows what tax will be due, or some of the other upgrades that go along. It'll all be included and adapted into the app, into our technology.
You have a new partnership with an organization that surprises me, and I didn't expect it. Tell me about your partnership with the American Forces Network and what each side is getting out of that partnership, Jim.
Well, thanks for that. We have, since the development of the blended retirement system with the growth of military participants in the TSP, really been trying to educate, especially those young soldiers, seamen, airmen, and guardians, about their options and their opportunities for retirement. And so the American Forces Network is the network that you watch online or watch on your televisions when you're deployed overseas. Maybe it's showing a sports game, maybe it's showing even kids programming. And we do real quick, 15 seconds, hey, don't forget, designate your beneficiary, or you can now set. This is one that's kind of unique for those serving overseas. You can now set a secondary address and have your mail sent there. So if you're living overseas, you could make sure you have a primary address. Maybe it's a parent, maybe it's the home you've left behind, but you'd like now while you're deployed to get your information here. So we've created it possible for you to create 2 addresses in your account. So go to that app we were just talking about and make that change. So it's just little ways to reach out to participants who might not be seeing us by listening to us to Fed Gov's podcast on a regular basis.
Don't forget the Marines, Jim.
Oh, I'm sorry. Marines are, of course, very dear to my heart.
I'm really struck by the fact that the uptake on the blended retirement has been just absolutely stunning to me.
Sure. And it's one place where our leadership here at the FRTIB, but also Congress and the executive branch got it right in saying for too long, young soldiers, young people serving would be in for a few years and leave. And even if they did 7 or 8 years, people like my brother, if you didn't do the 20 years, there was very little except what you set up for yourself. And so by creating BRS and now having the default be to get the full match and put yourself in an L fund, even if you only serve for 3 years of active duty, at least you've got something set aside. Even a little bit of money set aside when you're a young person serving will be something that'll be there for you in the future. And so having the automatic match and automatic into a life cycle fund, I think has really helped folks. And then things like our partnership with the American Forces Network and our other efforts to educate young service members as to the benefits has really encouraged them to stay in, to keep their accounts, to make sure they're getting the full match. And as you said, we're seeing that very close to what a civilian employee is doing as far as getting their full match and staying in a TSP.
With the market being the way that it's been, that's traditionally a time, isn't it, Jim, where people are asking a lot more questions about what's going on, are logging in to check on their accounts, that kind of thing. Is that a fair read on my part?
That's entirely correct, Francis. We did see an increase in our call volumes, especially on the days around some of those particularly volatile days in the market. That's not unique to the TSP. That's true with all the financial advisors out there. I'm sure all sorts of folks were watching their retirement funds closely. And we have seen a slight increase as far as overall numbers of people moving funds into the G fund and the income funds away from some of the stock markets. On the other hand, there are a number of financial advisors and publicly out there saying you should ride it out, that if you get out when things have dropped and then you don't get back in until things are going back up, you've lost that return. So we always encourage people to invest for the long term. But we did see an increased volume, and we're there to prepare to meet those requirements as each of our participants decides what's the right decision for them.
Jim, it's always great to talk to you. I appreciate having you on the show.
Great. Thank you. Look forward to talking to you again.
You can read more about the TSP on today's show page at fedgovtoday.com. The director of the Defense Information Systems Agency has a 4-pronged priority list to guide his agency. You'll learn about all 4 from Lieutenant General Paul Stanton on Fed Gov Today TV this Sunday morning at 10:30 on ABC7 in Washington and on the Fed Gov Today YouTube channel. If you missed the debut of the show, you can watch it on demand anytime at fedgovtoday.com and on YouTube. The Fed Gov Today podcast returns next Tuesday. Thanks very much for listening. I'm Francis Rose.